And let me know if you can see that okay.
Looks good, Terry.
You're good. All right. So let me double check, make sure I can see the chat window. All right. So yeah, personal branding for entrepreneurs. Looking forward to chatting with everyone about this today because one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is the flexibility you have and how you get to represent yourself online. And I want to give you some tips on how to do that on purpose. So with intent and with structure. But I'm just curious, in the chat window, can you say like roughly how long you've been an entrepreneur? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, so on and so forth. Just want to get an idea of where we're at in regards to our journey here. Got 1 year, 2 years, going on 5, 10 years. Wow, thanks for attending. You're probably busy. 7 months, 15 years, 3, working on it, a minute. There you go. So just recently, not there yet, but you're planning on it. I dig that. 3 months, 8 years, just starting on your way to becoming one. I like that mindset, right? Not yet, but I'm on my way to becoming one. 17 years, 13 years. Wow, this is amazing. Tom, you're going to start next year and hoping to become one very soon. All right, cool. Great. So let's keep it moving here. Talia, 3 years. My niece's name is Talia. So cool. I'll tell you that you're here. All right, cool. Let's get started. So here's my background. Some of you may have heard of me before. I've attended other sessions that I've led here at General Assembly or Entrepreneur or other places, but I'm a business development consultant. And normally what that involves is me helping other knowledge-based entrepreneurs grow their brand and their revenue. Outside of that, I'm also a contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine. And the cool thing about that is I get to interview a lot of entrepreneurs and learn their best practices and then try them out on myself. And if it works, I pass it on to people like you. So I'm kind of that conduit for all of you. And it's a great opportunity for me just to learn and get paid for it at the same time. So pretty cool. Before all that, I worked in-house at Facebook. I was at Adobe for a while. So that's more or less where I started my career. And I also am an advisor at Amazon, as well as the NYU Entrepreneurial Institute. So that's me. That's my background. I see some of you sharing your LinkedIn, your websites. Go for it. You know, network. That's what we're all here for. But let's keep it moving along here. So here's the agenda. I want to talk about developing your personal brand. So by design, just making sure that people know how to express what you do to the world, who you are, and not just who you are, but why you do what you do. So going deep into that. Then going into social media as well as content marketing, right? Super important to have content to express who you are and for your target audience. Landing media opportunities. So as a contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine, again, I get these a lot, these requests a lot. How do I, how can you write about me? How can I write for the magazine? I'm going to give you some really good tips on how to do that if that's what you're interested in doing. And then lastly, lead generation. Why are we doing all this stuff in the first place, right? Are we just trying to get more likes, more shares, more engagement? No, we want to get revenue, right? So I'll talk to you about lead generation and how you can track the source of everything that you're doing to make sure that you're investing your time wisely the way that you're building your personal brand. So that's what we're doing. What else? Housekeeping. If you want to get a copy of this deck, there's a bit.ly up here. It's going to appear several times during the session as well, but there you go. And I'm doing this now because I want you to take notes on things that are specific to you. Don't take notes on every single thing on the screen. That would be largely a waste of your time. Just get a copy of the deck. And as things come up to you that are important, you can go ahead and take a note on it. So just do that. And I want to say thank you for putting that bit.ly in there already. Also, if you post on social, can you please tag me at It's Terry Rice? And I'm going to put a link to my Instagram in here right now. But that would be amazing because what I'd like us all to do is keep track of our key takeaways and then share them, right? So we can kind of crowdsource this information. And then outside of that, I like collecting them and resharing them from my profile as well. So again, I just put that a link to my Instagram in there. If you take any screenshots, that would be cool. Just tag me and I would love to share that afterwards. Cool. Let's keep it moving here. Developing your personal brand. All right, so this is going to be very valuable for a lot of you because there's a difference between personal brand and personal branding. Your personal brand is how people perceive you. Personal branding is the impression that you want to give across. But if you're not encoding the message in the way that people can decode it, the way that you want them to understand it, you're kind of messing up. So I want to make it very clear on how to do that, how to express yourself in a way that people know, not just, your experience, what you do, but also your personality and the way you want the world to see you. And I always say, being an expert at whatever you do is a prerequisite. You have to be an expert, but your personal brand is often your unique differentiator. But realize you don't have to be everything for everyone. You should be somewhat polarizing. I'm for this audience. There's 1,000 people in this target audience. I only care about these 100 over here, right? And I'll give you a really good example of that. Nickelback. If you Google most hated band in the world, Nickelback comes up. All right. So they're a Canadian band, and I don't think they're that bad, but they're just known as one of the most hated bands in the world. This is how it kind of goes, right? But here's the thing. If you also look at the most successful bands in the world, in Canada, Nickelback also comes up, right? So again, they might be one of the most hated bands in the world, except for Z Jones likes them. Shannon does too. So there you go. Shannon is someone who's putting them in this category of most successful Canadian bands. And someone else is saying Creed is way worse. Yeah, Creed should be on the list too. I'll give you that. Do they qualify as a band? Okay, guys, we get it. So anyways, the point is, some people don't like them, but the people who like them love them, right? Same with your personal brand. Don't try to be everything for everyone, or else you'll be boring, right? So you're better off being Nickelback, even if some of you are already saying bad things about them. That's how it goes. Now let's stick with Nickelback for a minute. This was a recent post I had on my Instagram, and it's a true story. I said, problem, my 4-year-old refused to go to sleep last night. Solution, I made her listen to Nickelback until she gave up. It took her about 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Follow me for more great parenting tips. So this is me joking around on Instagram, but it's also part of my personal brand. So outside of my personal brand, being an expert at building businesses, I also have a lot of dad jokes. That's my life. I have 3 kids here. You're probably going to hear them soon in the background. So realize when you have this personal brand, there's a freedom for you to express yourself however you want. You don't have to be so buttoned up all the time because you're building your personal brand, right? You're Nickelback. You're like, I care about this audience, not everyone else. So going a bit further, this is my website. And as a person, when you're developing your personal brand, you are going to want to build your own personal website as well. Now, mine is on Squarespace, conveniently. And all the other examples that I'm going to show you momentarily are too. The reason why Squarespace is beneficial is because it's easy to make really good looking websites, even if you don't have any coding knowledge, right? But you want to have some good pictures too. So you want to have these professional photos where you're looking at something, looking happy because it's your personal brand. Don't have stock images on there, right? And then you have this statement here, get paid for who you are instead of what you do. Because my goal here is to help you join what's called the being economy. And the being economy is when you get rewarded for who you are, your personality, the way you express yourself, not just what you do. So that's the goal, right? Get paid for who you are instead of just what you do. That's one of my taglines. Here's another friend of mine, Amina Altai. She is a holistic business coach. And if you look at her tagline, it says, make work a place you freaking love, feel good, and get paid. Now, some people might think, oh, should you say freaking love? Isn't that going to offend some people? Yeah, that's the point, right? And she's a very nice person, but she also swears a lot. And she says, if we can't swear, we can't be friends. So she's trying to get this off, immediately, that, hey, this is her personality. So another one, this is Sally Arias, is a friend and a client of mine. She says, I teach entrepreneurs to create impact and increase revenue by leveraging easy to learn operations processes. So she's more or less an outsourced COO, but she's also very quirky, right? That's just her personality. And you see that immediately from her website. So building this personal brand. We can show you one more really good example. I like this one a lot. Joe Polish, yes or no? Has anyone heard of Joe Polish before? So Joe Polish is an amazing marketer, but he's also known as one of the most connected people in the business world. He has this platform called the Genius Network, where he brings people together who are very successful and just connects them. But if you look at what he's saying on here, it says from a dead broke carpet cleaner to one of the most connected businessmen on the planet. Pay very close attention to this, right? Very close attention. He says, I was 18 years old and in my worst state, I weighed 105 pounds from freebasing cocaine and was inches away from rock bottom. I'll say it again. He said, I weighed 105 pounds from freebasing cocaine and I was inches away from rock bottom. Again, this is someone who's just really doubling down on their personal brand. And that's a large part of who he is. Yes, he's a marketing expert, but he also wants to help people just understand the stigma around addiction and solve for that. So in this case, what he says is the opposite of addiction is connection. So do you see how he's bringing in his personal brand story into this slogan and this mission? The opposite of addiction is connection. And I just think it's so brave of him to put this out here, right? Because so many people will be afraid to say, oh, I don't want to talk about my past. I don't want to talk about this part. Well, it's your personal brand. You can talk about as much as you want because, again, you're not trying to necessarily appeal to everyone. You just want to talk to your specific audience. So that's Joe. And he's a multimillionaire because of it, by the way. So he's not dead broke anymore, right? Nicholas is saying, yeah, he shows a 360 change. Yeah, if he can change, you can change as well, right? So it's a great story. So your personal brand statement is something you're going to work on, all right? And there's various ways to put this together, but more or less it's a catchphrase for people to know what you do. Here's what I do, here's how I do it for, here's how I make it unique, or here's how I'm unique. But what I want you to do is just kind of get the basics of it down. And this is going to be a good opportunity to take a screenshot momentarily. The first thing is the expertise that you provide, right? What do you do? Let's say you're a financial manager. Next thing is, how do you help people? So in this case, you're going to help them, gain or lose time or money, right? How do you actually help people based on the expertise that you provide? Who is your target audience? In this case, high net worth entrepreneurs. I see so many people devalue their brand by saying, I do it for this audience, and this audience, and this audience, and this audience. Every and or that you add actually decreases the impact of what you're saying, because it's like, who are you for? I help nonprofits, corporations, startups, and stay-at-home moms. It's like, really? Like, what do you do? That makes no sense. So you want to be sure, you want to be super clear on who your target audience is. I see someone saying that, hey, your Bitly's not working. I'll fix it. Thanks for asking me. I'll fix that when I get a chance to hop into some Q&A, but thanks for flagging that. What else? What makes you uniquely qualified? Oh, it worked for you, Alex? Hey, if it worked for Alex, why don't you just put in the full link? Thanks. What makes you uniquely qualified? Maybe you're a former entrepreneur, so you learned these little known tax tricks that weren't taught in school. So please screenshot this one, because this is more or less your guide to creating your personal brand statement. And again, to get a copy of this deck, which apparently Bitly is working, you can go there to do it. Thanks, Alex. So here's an example of a personal brand statement, okay? This is different from an elevator pitch. It's not gonna be that long. And you don't have to worry about going so super deep into all the details of what you do. It should be enough to attract the right people saying, oh, I want to learn more. And detract some people who are like, no thanks. So in this case, we're saying I help high net worth entrepreneurs invest so they can spend more time doing what they love and less time worrying about their money. Differentiator. As a former entrepreneur, I leverage the little to known tax secrets that aren't taught in school, saving my clients hundreds of thousands of dollars. You all need some kind of statement like this, okay? Because this is how you want to express yourself to people, and it makes it easier for them to recommend you or introduce you if you already have this stuff created. Now you might say, Terry, that seems like a mouthful. Hey, you're gonna have shorter versions of it too. That's fine, but just have something ready. Don't say, oh, it kind of depends. Sometimes I do this and sometimes I do that. It's like, just be clear about who you are, because clarity is the precursor to confidence. And that confidence will take you a long way in communicating what you have to offer as an individual and as your brand, right? I'll say that again. Clarity is the precursor to confidence. So you want to make sure that you actually write this stuff down, right? Simple, super simple. I help this audience do this so they can achieve this outcome. That's all it is, right? I help this audience do this so they can achieve that outcome. If you can just put that together, you'll be in a very good spot, okay? So that's gonna be your first action item, is to create your personal brand statement. Let me take a look and see if there's any questions. Nope, okay. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A thing. Don't wait for Q&A. I have 3 kids, they never wait for anything. You probably heard one of me all this now, so don't feel like you have to wait for me to pause to answer questions. Just pop them in as they come up, but please do put them in the Q&A part. It's easier for us all to keep track of them. But for now, let's keep it going. Social media strategy. Question for all of you. How often do you post on social media? Once a week, once a month, never, Just give me some broad answers here. Rarely, weekly, not enough, rarely, 1 to twice a day, once a month, never, daily. All right, we got some dailies here. Solid. I'm a daily too. Different accounts, not enough. Nowhere near enough. Well, Jennifer, maybe, I mean, what's your goal, right? Maybe you don't have to post every day. Maybe it's, once in a while. Sometimes weekly. You like the quote? Sweet, thanks. Three to times a week. Hashtag, got it. You don't have content. All right, well, listen, you're not going to have that excuse after about 20 minutes. You're all going to have content. Is there something like posting too much? Only if it's boring. And no one cares. If you're like, I just had a sandwich and no one cares, yeah, you might be posting too much. But again, that's your audience. It all depends, right? Someone's saying you took a break after George Floyd. Yeah, sometimes when there's big events going on, like right now with the election, you might not feel comfortable posting, right? And I understand that. So in those situations, you should never feel forced to do it just because, oh, I got to post today. If you have something relevant to add to the conversation or you just want to express yourself, go with it. But it's a challenging time now in the US. Yeah, Erica, I thought about that this morning. I'm like, should I post on LinkedIn? Because it felt weird saying, hey, click here and buy stuff from me. And what I did was I posted. Yeah, I did post. I said, click here and buy something, because my brand is empowerment. My brand is helping people if they want to grow their knowledge-based business. So I'm like, hey, if you're curious about what I can do, here you go. And then here's another thing for all of you. I can't tell you yes or no to do something if I don't try it on myself too. So I can't say, oh, don't do it. I have to be that guy who posts on a holiday. I have to post Sunday at 9 p.m. So I can say from experience in the data I've seen that, yes, this is a good idea or a bad idea, because you have to learn it, live it, and then teach it. Say it one more time. Learn it, live it, and then teach it. So if I'm not actually learning and living it, I would be a hypocrite to try to teach it, right? So that's why I experiment today. Yes, I did post, but that's something to be aware of. Question, I'll grab this one. Do you have to be careful with what you post on social media if you're looking for a job or clients? You can say whatever you want on social media, as long as you're prepared to handle the consequences. That's it. I'll say it one more time. You can say whatever you want on social media, so long as you're prepared to handle the consequences. So it depends on what kind of clients you're trying to attract, what kind of job you're trying to get, so on and so forth, right? That's it. So use your judgment, what makes sense. But what I would say is this. I talked to this one person before. He happened to be gay. He's like, should I post about, LGBTQ stuff? I'm afraid it might hurt my chance of getting a job. I'm like, why would you want to work somewhere where they're not LGBTQ friendly? That makes no sense. Like, why would you want to work somewhere with a bunch of bigots? So seriously, like, dude, talk about it. Be yourself. Like, would you want to hide that the whole time? No, you shouldn't. That's ridiculous, right? So keep that in mind. Like, are you trying to hide something that just is a part of you or just makes sense? So yeah, you can say whatever you want. Cool. All right. So let me stop preaching and start teaching. Let's keep it going here. So you want to be where your audience is, and just maybe you only want to be on 1 or 2 channels as opposed to spreading yourself too thin. For me, that's primarily LinkedIn and Instagram. That's where the majority of my engagement comes from. That's where the majority of my leads come from. So that's what I do. I posted on Twitter once in December of last year, and I got a speaking opportunity from it, a paid speaking opportunity. And I posted again, and nothing happened since then. So I'm kind of done with Twitter. But it's like, where's your audience at? I mean, one of my buddies, he has this app that allows you to play video games against celebrities for a fee. So for him, it makes more sense for him to be on Twitch and like other channels that gamers are on, right? So you want to be where your audience is. Someone's saying, is Facebook irrelevant if you have Instagram? It depends on your audience, right? Because someone's still on Facebook, and if you're getting results from it, go for it. I would say you're often better off posting in Facebook groups as opposed to hoping people see the stuff in your newsfeed. But you got to test it out. Like, don't say this guy that I saw in the webinar said not to do it, so I'm never going to. Test it. If it flops, okay, I'm not going to do it. But to be more specific, you normally have better results by being in regards to engagement and reach if you post in a group. And I'm going to ask everyone, can you please post these questions in, as a Q&A function? Because I don't want to miss any of these. So if I didn't answer your questions because someone said something else and it kind of scrolled by. So yeah, do that. Cool, let's keep it going. So I'm going to show you a few platforms to keep in mind. The first one being LinkedIn. Now, here's the thing about LinkedIn. 80% of B2B leads come from LinkedIn for social. I'll say it again. 80% of socially generated B2B leads come from LinkedIn. So for the most of us, this is the place to be, right? I'm not saying don't use Facebook. I'm not saying don't use Instagram. I have friends who they have thousands of followers on Instagram. They get a lot of engagement. They post on LinkedIn. No one cares, right? So what I'm saying is test things out, but I think it's a good place to start is getting a very clear on your LinkedIn profile. So if you look at mine, upper right-hand corner, my cover photo there, see how there's a call to action there? Do that. Don't just have like that generic blue background, just have something. Talk about your product, talk about, some kind of freebie you have, whatever it is, but don't just leave that blank space there because it's almost like the landing page on a website. You want to make a good first impression when people go to your website, okay? So do that. Another thing to be aware of is your title down here. This is more or less your micro brand, okay? This is your micro brand. So whenever you comment on LinkedIn, that's the first thing people are going to see, even without going to your profile. And then beyond that, when they do go to your profile, they'll see this as well. So right here, you see where it says, I help consultants grow their brand and revenue at the bottom. It's because I want people to be very clear about what I do. So whatever you do, maybe it's like, I help accountants find better assistants, whatever it is, or my app helps bookkeepers keep books better, whatever it is, just get that in your title because that's your micro brand. And you want to be very clear about that, okay? So again, just keep this in mind. You want to make a good first impression here and make sure people are very clear on what you do and who you do it for, right? And Lauren, thanks for chiming in there. We have someone who went to Buffalo State. Yeah, my brother went there. Cool. Go Bengals. Use a professional photo. I'm going to take you on a little journey here. This is me back in 2007 when I was that guy who like just took a picture at a bar and said, hey, I look good in this picture. I'm going to put that up on LinkedIn. But this is back when I worked in-house. I think I was at Adobe at the time. I can't remember where. But this picture, it's not professional. It's not, like necessarily somebody you'd want to engage with if they reached out of nowhere. It's like, looks like some guy who, just likes to party or whatever. So that was me back then. 2014, I put up this picture that I took for free at some conference, and I'm like somewhat smiling, but also somewhat too serious. And it was like black and white. So doing a little bit better here. And then last year I changed it to this one. So it's me looking at something aspirationally, and just this alone can make your brand, right? The way that you present yourself with your cover photos, whether it be on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, so on and so forth. Now, right now, I know it's hard to get a photographer to take these pictures for you, but heck, you can just get in front of like a white wall or something and use your phone and take a good picture. But just be very clear about your background. You don't want a bunch of stuff behind you, and it should mainly just show your head and also smile, because I have clients that I've done A/B testing with smile versus not smiling, and just smiling gets you a lot more engagement. People are more likely to reach out and connect with you. And if you are reaching out, they're more likely to accept your connection request. All right, super important. I'm going to pause here and see what questions we have. I don't want to go too long without answering anything. Question is, do you not exclude potential people if you specify too narrowly in your personal branding statement? Yeah, you do, and that's fine by me, right? If I say I help nonprofits streamline their e-marketing program, cool, that's all I do. And if you're, another company might say, oh, shoot, you're not for me. Good, because a nonprofit's going to say, awesome, this is exactly who I want. Someone who's an expert at helping nonprofit company or organizations use email marketing, because it's so different. We're asking for money. We're not selling stuff. So you should exclude people by narrowing your audience with that statement. You're doing that by design. So really good question. Does your personal brand have to include something personal, like Joe Polish, who was a cocaine addict? It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. It should include some kind of personal belief normally. Like, I believe that all businesses, no matter what size, should have access to the critical skills and resources needed to grow. So it's like an I believe statement. But that's the thing about it being a personal brand statement. You can be as, I don't want to say generic, but as clinical as you want, or as deep and emotional as you want, depending on your audience, right? So let's pretend I'm a mental health professional. I would probably want to be more empathetic than if I was selling sprockets. So again, you can test these things out, but it's going to be relevant to your audience. And thank you for asking that, by the way. We've got a question here. I'm testing two different audiences with two different offers. How do I approach testing without making my personal brand confusing? It's going to be a little bit confusing initially if you're testing different offers. One thing you could do if you really want to differentiate is you could do paid ads where you're only targeting one audience versus another, and or you can self-identify the theme of your content by your hashtags. So hashtag nonprofits versus hashtag enterprise company. And by design, the algorithm will be more likely to show that content to nonprofits versus enterprise level companies. And your content will reflect that as well. But you're going to feel a little confusing initially because these are the limitations you have. And that's part of the growing pains. But like, if you don't actually take that step ever, you'll never know. So embrace the awkwardness is what I'm saying, and see what happens. Because over time, you'll see which one is going to eventually yield you the best results. How often should you promote your personal brand or your business? Blah, blah, blah. So I didn't mean to blah, blah, blah your question. I just kind of got it. I would say 80% should be value, value, value. The other 20% should be more transactional. You actually trying to get paid. And let's take a step back. That's the benefit of posting so often. If you post 5 times a week, you can post something transactional, meaning promoting yourself once a week, because the other 4 posts were more value driven. And we'll get into that later. That's the benefit of posting more often, is you feel comfortable being salesy. Grab another one and then we'll keep it going. I have an e-commerce bakery. That's pretty cool. Wish I'd known that before this call. Would a personal brand be all about myself or the product? I would say both, because you want to be known as a key person of influence for your company. Like who's the brand behind these cookies or whatever it is? What's your story? Why do you do it? You know, is it like some secret recipe from your family, so on and so forth? You want to be more than a logo. So even if you are selling a product, I think it's beneficial to have this person who represents the brand. So that way all your content's not so, again, transactional. It's like, here's why I got started. It could be something like, you could be like, hey, here's me walking into this store. Years ago, I always was nervous trying to pitch my products there. Now I do it online and take advantage of, the internet, something like that. You know what I mean? Like you can do behind the scenes content is what I'm saying, right? That's the benefit of having a person behind the brand. All right, let me do more content, then we'll answer more questions. I just want to pace myself, but thanks for not making this boring and me just begging people to talk, because that's happened before. But let's keep it going. I will answer these questions. And again, if I don't, I'm going to put my IG in there again. That's the best way to reach out to me, is Instagram or LinkedIn. Thank you for not being boring. Can I get that as a testimonial? That would be sweet. Like just tag that on social. This guy's not boring. All right, cool. Let's go. Featured content on your LinkedIn profile, yes or no? Do you have featured content on your LinkedIn profile? Featured content. Yes. Yep. Yes. Got to do it. No. No with a frowny face. It's all good. It's free. Don't actually know what it is. No with a question mark. I like the fact that you're curious about this. You're not on LinkedIn that much. No. What is LinkedIn? Well, there's another class on that one, not this one. Cool. So featured content, I'll show you what that is where you can upload additional content underneath your bio and your title. It can be a post that you did recently. It can be an article. It can be a link to any other website. It can be a video, so on and so forth. If you're not using this, you're greatly diminishing your ability to grow your personal brand, in this case on LinkedIn. right? And again, this is a free thing. It's about 9 months old, so some of you might not have seen it, but here's what it looks like on mine. I have what's called a founder video, where it's just me just talking about my why, more or less. Like you see like me taking my kids to school and like the generic dad tosses the kid in the air picture, like that thing. Then you see me at the gym, so on and so forth. That's my video. It's about 3 minutes long. And as an extension of your personal brand, you might eventually want to do something similar. You don't have to do that right now, but it's just a video of me expressing my why. Then there's my speaker reel. So I do paid speaking engagements. There's just me on stage. Then there's other stuff like entrepreneur articles, so on and so forth. If you're not using this right now, you should, because it's freaking huge the way it shows up on your profile, right? So this woman's promoting her Growth Academy. She's saying subscribe to my YouTube channel. Looks like she has her podcast link there, so on and so forth. So if you're not doing that right now, this is something that you definitely want to do, right? Because it's going to be a great way for you to grow your brand and take advantage of this resource, which is free, right? So please do that. All right. Take note on that one. All right. So another one is this: highlights on Instagram. All right. So we're shifting platforms here. Instagram, you want to make sure you have highlights available. And highlights are stories that have ran before on your Instagram that you want to save and make them permanent on your Instagram. So this is my friend Anna Batune. She's a personal brand strategist. And if you look at the bottom of her, she has like these well-curated stories. She's like, these are websites I built right here. This is her bedroom when she was redesigning it. Q&A. So what she does, and you can all do this too, she uses Instagram stories as an opportunity to do Q&A. So she'll say, hey, what personal branding questions do you have for me? She'll then use that question sticker so people can put them in there. And then she posts that as content. You can all do that. It doesn't matter what you do. Maybe you have a company, again, like you have this bakery, right? This online bakery. You can say, hey, what questions do you have about, best ways to pair cake with beer? If that's a thing. I don't know, whatever. You figure it out, right? But like you can just you just ask questions to people and say, what questions can I answer about whatever, So you can do that. Press, she has another one for, press she's received, speaking, blog, and her podcast. Super brilliant the way this is all set up, right? And it's all done by design. So I would definitely check her out. It's another buddy, Mike Koenigs. So if you look at his profile, he says he writes for Forbes magazine, entrepreneur. He's a 13-time bestseller. He has this podcast, and he's also an angel investor. If you look at his stories, it's like his podcast, his sizzle reel, travel, his wife, and then testimonials. I love this, right? The testimonials part. More people need to do this, right? If you have a business and you have testimonials, run those as a story, right? And even like feedback you get from stuff like this, if someone says, oh, Terry, great session, I'm glad I tuned in, that can become a testimonial that you share in that highlight. All right. So it's these little things that you can do to build your personal brand. And all of a sudden you're just viewed differently by people. This is another business partner of mine, Todd Johnson. And again, if you look at his highlights, he has this YouTube channel, which just hit 100,000 followers. He has this thing called the Success Club, where you can learn from him how to make money. He has a lot of cars. He has like 10 higher end cars, to the point where he flies to Italy to buy them handmade. So that's him. But he also lives behind Mark Wahlberg, so he can afford it, in Beverly Hills. So he's doing pretty good. But he's also a good guy. I mean, this guy grew up dirt poor in South Carolina to a single parent and bought his first car at 14 years old, after working at a restaurant. So he deserves to live behind Mark Wahlberg, in my opinion. He's done a lot to attain that. So he's a good guy to know in general. But again, just a well-curated profile here. All right. So let's go deeper into me answering questions, because I see a lot of them coming up here. Did that already. How often should you do giveaways or freebies? I mean, you can do them all the time. It depends on what you're giving away. Like I have a free course that I give away, a free on-demand course. And I'll give you a link to that later if you want to check it out. Violet, what are you getting from it when you give things away? Are you getting leads that convert? If you're giving away like, bakery goods, are you saying, can you please take a picture of this and share it? That way I have this user generated content. How often is a function of the benefit you're getting from it, right? So that's the way I would answer that question. Like, what are you getting from it, as opposed to how often should you do it? For someone who's selling handmade items, do I feel these two channels work? I'm asking for me and someone else who's asking this. Oh, cool. I can answer two people's questions at once. I think Pinterest would be a good spot to be at if you're selling handmade items. I think Instagram could be a good fit too. LinkedIn, probably not as successful. You can try it, but I feel like you might be linking to an Etsy shop or something like that. So if that's the case, then that lends itself, in my opinion, more to Pinterest, as well as Instagram. And then someone's saying depop.com is also a good spot, I think. I don't know. So try that too. But yeah, you have to be where your audience is. That's what I was saying, So I don't think you'd want to be on LinkedIn, but it sounds like Pinterest or Instagram would be a good fit. Cool. Let's get some more. What if you sell physical products? Should you create an audience or group in social media? You could. I mean, for me, like, I work out a decent amount. So I follow brands like Rogue or Onnit or Ladder, and they have really good content. They're like, here's the workout of the day. Here's a way to recover after you work out, so on and so forth. So if you have a physical product, there's still going to be tangential content that would support your product, right? So if you're working out, you need to get rest. So you can say, like, here's some tips on getting more rest. Make sure you stay hydrated, so on and so forth. So you're creating content that's relevant for your target audience, even if it's not always about your product or service. That's what content marketing is, right? So I'll do that. Can your content be the same as your other social media platform? Back when I focused on digital marketing, I would say, no, don't ever do that. That's called cross-promoting, cross-posting. But hell, do you have time to make something fresh for every channel? The answer is no. Then don't. See what happens. The majority of content I have on LinkedIn also goes on Instagram, right? So theoretically, your content should match the theme of the platform that you're on. But if you're short on time, just do what you got to do, right? But realize some content that's a good fit for, let's say, Instagram might not land as well on LinkedIn, and that kind of is what it is. So if you have time in the world, then sure, do it. Repurpose, as we're saying. If not, just like Shannon's saying, just push the button and schedule your post across all platforms, right? I think we're somewhat caught up. Yeah, let's keep going, and then I'll have plenty of time to answer questions. All right, so do all this stuff. How do you create content? You guys are asking me questions like, Terry, how often should I post? What should I post? So on and so forth, right? You want to focus on quality as opposed to quantity, right? And another thing I'll bring up is you never want to associate your self-worth with the amount of like likes or shares or comments you're getting on your content, right? It's all about focusing on impact. And that impact, sometimes it won't be visible, right? You won't necessarily, get a bunch of likes and comments and shares, but sometimes it's the commitment to just continually creating content that really matters. So you have to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. Because if you don't enjoy the process, you'll never make it to the outcome. And there's been times when I've like said, oh, this post is going to be awesome. People are going to look at it and it's going to be great. It's going to go viral. Nothing happens. Other times I'll casually put something up and for some reason it just takes off. So it is what it is, but hell, we're not talking about paid advertising. You have unlimited shots. So why would you say, oh, I don't want to post this just in case? Like there's other things in your life to be proud of. Maybe it's not this post. That is what it is. but like, don't let that stop you from trying, right? Because otherwise, you're not gonna hone in and develop your craft in regards to how you create your content, right? So just keep that in mind, right? Your self-worth is not associated with how many likes and comments you get. I wish more younger people understood that, because I'm 42 years old, but like now when you're in high school, there's like 8 different channels and everyone's on them at the same time. And it's like, you might be having a great lunch and all of a sudden by the end it's ruined because of what Kelly said or whatever. So just hopefully we can all, rise above that and, just be more mature. So here's the easiest content strategy ever, right? Thank you for that. Here's the easiest content strategy ever. Think of 10 topics or questions that are relevant to your target audience, and then create content around those topics. So one question I get all the time is, how much should I charge for my services as a consultant or a coach? I create content around that. Another question is, how do I get more clients or customers? I create content around that. That's it. So when you're sitting around thinking, oh, what should I write? What do I do? Just answer questions. That's it. That's all you have to do is answer questions or post content that's relevant to your target audience. That's all you have to do, right? So super easy. And if you just do this, if you just write down 10 questions your audience has or 10 topics that are relevant and you post once a week, you have 2.5 months worth of content, right? That'll get you in the habit of creating content and you can continue iterating from there. So here are just some examples. Like these are mostly digital marketing ones. This guy's saying, hey, Hootsuite has a free limited plan if you want to post on social media. There you go. This other guy, David, saying, here's 8 Amazon stats that you need to know in 2020, so on and so forth. So you see what I'm saying? Like you can even just repurpose content. If you see a cool post saying, here's these 8 Amazon stats, you can repurpose it saying, hey guys, if you're doing Amazon, e-commerce, then here's some stats you need to know. You don't have to actually think of something. You can just repurpose it. You could be a curator of content if you don't want to create your own content. So there's never an excuse not to post. It's just you saying, okay, do I want to create something or do I want to curate and share? But don't do this, please. Don't just put up that article and say amazing stats and then peace out. Like offer some kind of editorial content around it. This article is good because of this. That's why you should read it. But don't just say amazing, brilliant, because that's boring and people are not going to engage with it. Shared content that has editorial posts around it, meaning your thoughts on it, gets much more engagement than if you just share a post, right? So please keep that in mind. But here's the thing. It can't just be all like how-to content and like, here's some stats content. The way that you build your personal brand is by expressing your personality, right? And what we're going to do momentarily is I'm going to walk you through how you can, by design, say, okay, well, how do I do that systematically on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever it is. But you're going to make it so clear to people who you are, what you believe in, what you care about, because by design, that's the content you're creating, right? So if you've been casually paying attention for the last 47 minutes, lock in right now, because this part's super, super important. And I want to make sure you clearly understand it. And I want to be clear, I got this process from this guy, Taylor Offer, who owns an agency called Feet. That is his real name, Offer, even though he does sales. And he walked me through this process in this course that he has. So I just want to give him credit for it because I don't want to steal his stuff, but he's a cool guy. Here's the process. You ready? Look at the top. You're going to come up with 3 content buckets, meaning what are the 3 themes of content you want to write about consistently? How do you want people to view you, right? When they think of Lauren, she cares about this, she does this, and she's also interested in this, right? So maybe it's going to be this person's health conscious, they run, a nonprofit, and they're really into art, so on and so forth. Whatever it is, but you want to make sure you have these predefined buckets so you know what kind of content to put out. How do you want to express yourself? And then the format on the left-hand side, it can be pictures, videos, something humorous, something text-based, or commentary, sharing another post from someone else or another article, all right? You're gonna do this first. Here's mine, just to get you started. So my first bucket has to be coaching and consulting. That's what I do. I help people launch and scale their coaching and consulting businesses, right? Next thing is mindset and health. I'm really big into a growth mindset as well as physical health, okay? So on me, I'm like, okay, mindset and just being prepared to thrive even in challenging situations, as well as your physical health. Another category. The other one is my personality. That's what tells me, hey, it's okay to post about Nickelback and using that as a way to make your daughter give up and go to sleep. My personality is dad jokes, it's observant, so on and so forth. Someone is still against Nickelback. Can you let that go? So anyways, here's what this looks like filled out. What you're going to do is just rapid fire content ideas. Don't write the whole post, just rapid fire. What can be something? What can be a theme of this? So under consulting and pictures, I could have a picture of me speaking at South by Southwest, okay? Under mindset and humor, I could say, hey, if you want to overcome imposter syndrome, don't be an imposter, right? Super simple. Just be clear about who you are. Another one under text and consulting, I talk about why you should create text shortcuts in your phone. So often I do that when I'm responding to someone on LinkedIn. I'll have a text shortcut in my phone to make it easier for me to communicate, because I'm normally watching my daughter as she's doing remote kindergarten in the mornings, and I'm on my phone at the same time responding to comments or questions or anything. But I'll have text shortcuts programmed into my phone to make it easier. Right. So this is something that you should do. And there's what, 45 here? No, 15, 20, I don't, whatever, math, you figure it out, just count. Now I want to know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. There's like 15 ideas here, and you wouldn't build it out fully yet. You would not build it out fully yet. What you do is you would just get the idea down and then build it out later, a more complete definition. So, or complete content. So what I do is I make these in Google Sheets. And if I have ideas on how to flesh it out more, I'll enter a comment saying, okay, for the South by Southwest speaker one, use this picture and maybe have this title above it, so on and so forth. Okay. This process, it took me about 2 hours to come up with 45 ideas, but that's how I'm able to post every day, because I don't sit around thinking, oh, I have to write this whole post. I'm like, no, just get the theme down there, put it out there, and see what happens. Okay. This is going to be super, super valuable for you. So please don't skip this. If you have questions, or get the deck and reach out to me or whatever. But again, this is how I can post on LinkedIn every day, is an Instagram quite often as well. Right. And after a while, you realize, hey, you know what? First of all, this is insane. When I write like how-to content, like, hey, here's how you make more money, it gets engagement. But what gets more engagement is the personal stuff and the mindset stuff, right? And I'll show you some examples of it. This is a true story. I had this post where I said, people don't care about your kids, and here's how I found out. But it's largely based on the experience we're having right now. I know you hear my kids yelling in the background. My wife's here, it's okay. But early COVID, I was always concerned about people hearing my kids, and I always apologize over and over again. Oh, I'm so sorry, my bad, whatever. And people always say, look, we don't care, it's fine. We can barely hear them, or don't worry about it. So that's what I went into in this post. I was like, people don't care about, your kids really making noise in the background. They just want to hear the information that you have to value, that you have to provide. But you can't be the best version of yourself if half your mind is thinking, are my kids making too much noise? And the other half of your mind is thinking, am I presenting myself well? So I just kind of gave up after a while. I was like, look, I got kids, man. I got kids here. They live here. Also, I live in Brooklyn. I live right across from the Brooklyn Museum. You're going to hear sirens. You're going to hear 3-6 Mafia. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to hear either, but there's noise. So it is what it is. And I kind of spin it sometimes too. I'll say, look, if you've never had a chance to visit Brooklyn, now's your chance to somewhat experience it by the sounds. So that's how I spin it. But I just kind of gave up and said, look, I got kids here. And so many people resonated with that. They're like, you know what? Thank you for saying this. Or like, I don't care either if someone has kids in the background. Like, it is what it is. So just by owning up to this, so many people saw it. And someone pointed out, yeah, I got like 27,000 views of that post, right? So I didn't pay anything to get in front of 27,000 people, right? So if you're familiar with digital marketing, how you buy ads, it's by the CPM, by the cost per 1,000 ad impressions. And on a platform like LinkedIn, it would be about $10 per ad impression. So I got per 1,000 ad impressions. So by math, I got about $260 worth of advertising for nothing, just from posting. And here's why this is so important. LinkedIn versus Twitter versus Instagram versus Facebook. Pay very close to this, all right? Close attention to this. LinkedIn is a content deficient platform, meaning there is not enough content on the platform as compared to how many people are active on it as well. Therefore, if you post content on LinkedIn, it might still show up in someone's feed 3 days later, 4 days later, 5 days later, a week later. Does that happen on Instagram? No. Twitter? No, because there's more content being promoted on Instagram and on Twitter. So you have an advantage right now. This platform is like, we need content. And Terry, even if you only have like 5,000 followers, we'll show it to 27,000 people. right? We don't care because the majority of people on this platform, they got 9 to 5s and stuff, right? Or they're afraid to post because they're afraid someone's not going to like it. Hey, if you post, boom, cool, whatever, dude. Here's 27,000 views for you complaining about your kids, right? So that's what I'm saying is like realize the value you have right now by posting on this platform that needs content. It needs people like you right now to say, you know what, no matter what, I'm still going to get on there and I'm going to express myself in my personal brand, even if I am talking about my kids, right? So I hope this is helping you. Another one, this is me doing a Turkish getup. Does anyone know what a Turkish getup is? I'm sure some of you have done it, but you can turn your workouts into even like a LinkedIn post. So the thing with the Turkish getup is you have to put the kettlebell in the air and you have to keep your eye on it the whole time as you lift your body up to a standing position. And I said, this is kind of like a parallel of entrepreneurship. You know, it's challenging. It is challenging. But if you keep your eye on the ball, or in this case, the kettlebell, and ignore all the distractions, you know, your body moving around, trying to get up, trying to, stay balanced, you will be successful, right? So for me, I can find opportunities just in life to post on LinkedIn. And again, like this is type of stuff that shows your personality, right? Because I said before, my buckets are, coaching, consulting, obviously. It's also mental and physical health, which you're seeing right now. And then my personality, which are the dad jokes, more or less, right? So that's the thing. If you can just create this narrative around what you're seeing, you can still make it quote unquote LinkedIn appropriate, right? But I'm just freaking working out. Like that's it, right? Here's another one. This one's mindset. So on the left, you see Brooklyn, garbage, right? On the right, this is also Brooklyn. This is the Botanic Gardens, which is about a 10-minute walk from my apartment. And gosh, you know what? The statement I was making here is like, if you look for the worst in any situation, you're going to find it. If you look for the best in any situation, you're going to find it, right? And if you look at got like 101 likes or whatever, and I'm not chasing likes, but it's like, if you want a metric to judge this by, there you go, right? But again, like this is me seeing my worldview. I look for the best in situations. And it doesn't matter if I'm talking about, me helping you launch your business or whatever. You're like, wow, that guy's got a positive attitude. I like him. There's this other person they're talking about all this how-to stuff. They seem good too, but you know what? I kind of like this guy. Like he's somewhat entertaining. He takes care of his body. He's got all these kids, but he still works out and does all this stuff. So as a result, someone might say, hey, the reason why I want to work with you is because of this, right? And the crazy thing is on the right-hand side, the point I was trying to make is that's the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. For a family of 4, you can go there for $10 a month. That's insane. $10 a month. So the choice is yours. You can complain about garbage cans or drop $10 and just go to the freaking park or go to the gardens. But that's the way I view the world. I'm like, okay, here's the situation. What do you want to do about it? Like, how do you want to play this? Do you want to harp on the worst of it? Or do you want to focus on the most positive thing, right? So that's what you're seeing in this content. I'll put my LinkedIn in here or just kind of look for me right now. It's just Terry Rice. And there's a picture of me so you know what I look like. You'll get a better idea of how I talk about stuff on LinkedIn. Let's do this. Let's answer some questions here. How often do I recommend posting on social media? I think I already answered that one. It depends. I mean, how often can you be engaging or provide useful content? Don't do it just to do it, but that's why that process I showed you before can actually help you post every day, should you choose to, right? So that's what I would say. It's also based on your goals, because how many eyeballs do you want on you, right? Like, how much traffic or how much attention can you absorb and still find it to be beneficial? That's the way I think about it as well, right? I don't know what this question is. Yeah. David Betts, if you can restate that question, I think I'm a little confused here. If you can just restate that. What about me looking at the camera versus looking off as I am? Does that matter? Oh, does this look bad when I'm not looking at the camera? Does anybody care? I don't know. I'm not sure. Are you saying I should look at the camera the whole time? I guess that would make sense. I don't know. You're still here. Hopefully, if you're still here, I guess it doesn't matter. I have 2 monitors set up, so I can look at the Q&A better over here, and then I can have my monitor over here. So, and my photos I have to look at the camera. Doesn't matter. All right, whatever. Try it both ways, I guess. Will be my response. I don't know. how can you go about making your business brand stand out from the competition? It's your personality, right? It looks like you sell organic soaps. That's great. It can be your personality. Like I sell organic soaps, and I also am really big into yoga. I'm also really big into meditation. I also, like to write, whatever it is. Your unique differentiator does not have to be your product or service. It can be your personality. It doesn't matter how many competitors you have. There's no one like you in the world. And I know that sounds corny, right? I tell it to my daughter all the time, but that's true. Don't exhaust yourself trying to find a unique differentiator for your product or service. If you have one, cool. But if you think to yourself, end of the day, hey, it's just soap. Maybe it is, but it's your soap. Here's the reason why you did it. Here's why you enjoy it, so on and so forth. Right. So think about it that way. Like one of my friends, she owns this company called Baloo Living. They make weighted blankets. Okay. And they're not the only weighted blanket on the back on the planet, but she discovered them when she was in Bali, I believe, and found that it helped her like rest more comfortably, and discovered that it helps people with different conditions as well. That's why she does it, right? So that's the story she tells, and she also has other products around meditation and wellness. So that's what I would say. What else? Down. Do I focus on keywords when you write for your bio? Yeah, because people are searching for stuff, right? So if they're searching for a dentist in Detroit, you should write Detroit-based dentist or dentist in Detroit. So yeah, it's almost like SEO, search engine optimization. But yeah, absolutely, you should create keywords that your audience would search for in your bio and in your title. So good question. When heading up a company, how do you suggest striking a balance between you as a personal brand and the business? I've spent a long time making sure the business does not solely rely on me, but conscious of ensuring my personal brand isn't lost. Yeah, it's a delicate balance. Look up Movement watches, MVMT watches. Can't remember the guy's name. It's like Jake something. He's a good example of someone who has a strong personal brand and a good brand, obviously, with his watches. So I think you're going to have to find what makes sense for yourself, but you'd want to make sure, and this is where you do have to get kind of guarded, is you would not want to do something with your personal brand that has a negative impact on your business, if it's a large business especially, because that can hurt a lot of people. An example of that is Greg Glassman, the former CEO of CrossFit, when he made very bad remarks about George Floyd being murdered. He is no longer the CEO of CrossFit because they lost so much money. So I think it makes sense for you to be that key person of influence for your company and have that personal brand. But you'll find a balance, I think, if you just test things out. And again, look at that guy from Movement Watches, MVMT Watches. He's a really good example of how to do that, because your personal brand can help your business. If people are asking you, oh, can you speak on this podcast? Can you, speak on this webinar or whatever? You being a person who has this real identity is actually going to help your business in the long run. So I wouldn't hold back on that. Can I talk more about how each of you can create value-driven content? You're so awesome at this. Oh, well, thank you. I did not make up that last part, by the way. How can you create more value-driven content? Well, again, part of it is just answering questions that your audience has. Another is, let's pretend you're in the industrial manufacturing industry. You could set up a Google alert for the keyword industrial manufacturing, and then any alert that comes up, you can say, hey, everybody, hot off the presses, there's this new update in the law about industrial manufacturing. There you go. So you can do that. You can also directly reach out to people and say, what questions do you have in regards to, your business? What are you concerned about going into the new normal in 2021? You can actually survey people in your audience, and that's how you can get value-driven content. I'm going to give you a really specific tip on that momentarily. So stay tuned. All right, we got 25 minutes. Okay, cool. Let me keep going. What else? Here's another thing. So also engage with content. Sometimes people are like, hey, how come no one's engaging with my content? I'm like, are you ever liking, sharing, commenting? Well, no. Well, that's why. Because the algorithm's going to say, you don't value Sarah's content, so why would Sarah value yours? And then beyond that, Sarah's going to say, you don't value my content, so why would I value yours as well, right? The more you engage with other people's content, the more visibility you'll get in the news feed. And now going back to the other question, how can I provide relevant content? It could be following those hashtags and looking for questions that come up as well. So again, if it's industrial manufacturing, you're going to follow the hashtag industrial manufacturing. If a question comes up, you can actually just go in there and say, oh yeah, great question. Here's an update on this new law. So the valuable content you could be getting or creating is responding to comments, and let me stop here for a minute. When my youngest son, Trevor, was born, he's a year old now, I couldn't do anything because I was like up all night feeding him. I don't say all night because my wife might hear me and call me out on that. But anyways, I took care of the kid to an extent. So I couldn't think of any good content. And what I would do is I would just comment 10 times a day. So I'll be feeding him at like 2, 3 in the morning and just commenting 10 times a day. Didn't post, just commenting. And just that alone actually helped me land 1 client and 2 speaking opportunities over the course of a month of just commenting 10 times a day. So I was like literally feeding my son and posting on LinkedIn. And that's how I was able to keep my business active while I was out on paternity leave. So comment. And I'll show you a really good example of that. This is Simon Sinek. Yes or no? Have you guys heard of him before? Simon Sinek? Am I saying it right? I don't know. Anyways, that guy, the whole start with why guy. So follow people that are relevant to your target audience and then comment on their posts. Whoever it is, think of 5, 10 people that are relevant thought opinion leaders in your audience and then comment on their posts. So in this case, he had a post that got like 40,000 likes or whatever. I said something and my post alone got 52 likes and 13 replies, right? So again, like you don't have to always create content. You can just respond. Hell, sometimes I'm lucky if any of my posts get 52 likes. In this case, a comment did. So find people that are relevant to your target audience, comment on their posts. And again, you might be like one of the most relevant ones that gets all these likes and comments. And I should have replied to these comments. I didn't do that, especially since he said I was brilliant. Thanks, Gary. But anyways, you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be that hard. Just follow this process. You can do it while you're feeding a newborn, right? You just have to do it with intent and do it with proper planning. And that's what I want to leave you with today, right? We're not done, but just to kind of frame things. Also, it's okay to sell your own stuff. And that's what I was saying earlier. The benefit of posting so much is you can actually promote yourself and it won't seem like, oh, great, this guy's freaking trying to sell stuff again. Always selling stuff. So 80% of your content should be promotional or reinforce your personal brand. 20% can be more transactional. So to the gentleman earlier is like, when I'm running with my personal brand, how much should it be business? This is a good flow for you to think of. 80-20. 80% personal, 20%, hey, by the way, my company does this. Hey, by the way, my company was recently in Entrepreneur Magazine, so on and so forth, right? And I'll show you an example of that. This is actually from this morning. This is my post. If you go to my LinkedIn right now, my most recent post, I was saying, are you an underutilized coach or consultant? Do you know how to do your job but have trouble finding clients that recognize and appreciate the value that you provide? And then I go in to talk about my coaching program. And I'm like, hey, let me know if you want in. And if you look over to the right, it says this woman's like, hey, I'm in. And I'm like, okay, cool. And this other guy's like, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, all right, sweet, right? So I don't post salesy stuff that often. So when I do, people will either respond to it or they're like, okay, whatever, guy's trying to make a buck. They're not going to like unfollow me because I don't just spam people all the time, right? And that's the value of posting content consistently. You can do stuff like this. And again, you might have some people that say they want to join it. So that's the benefit there. Let me go a little bit faster. There's a lot of questions here. Earning media opportunities. All right, so tune back in. All right, how do we get featured on podcasts and magazines and all this cool stuff? You have to have something to talk about. And let me take a step back. This is not me humble bragging. This is me telling a story. 2 years ago, I was on Good Morning America. I was talking about social media marketing and how to use it to get a job, which actually would be pretty relevant right now. I got to call him back. So anyways, I'm on Good Morning America, like all these people from like high school are reaching out. Oh man, that was awesome. We saw you this morning, blah, blah. And all these media outlets reached out to me too. And they're like, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? And I'm like, I don't know stuff. Like I didn't have enough like topics pre-baked for me to even take advantage of some of these opportunities that came my way. And it really frustrated me. And that's when I knew like, okay, going forward, you have to be prepared. My personal philosophy, I'll share with you, is to be purpose-driven, prepared, and patient. Purpose-driven, meaning I actually like what I do and who I work with. Prepared, having these topics together, right? Or having my plan for how I'm going to post on LinkedIn. And patient, realizing that it's really a form of wisdom, knowing that things take time to unfold, right? That's how it goes. So I don't want to get all spiritual on you, but that's my thing. So what you need are signature speaking topics. People have to know what you can speak and write about. So think of a compelling and relevant topic for your industry. And then what you can do is align with organizations that already have access to your audience and offer to deliver that as a presentation or share it as content. So for example, let's say you're a digital marketing consultant. You could say, oh, I have this speaking topic, 5 ways to prepare for the new normal as an e-commerce shop owner. You can pitch that to various organizations that cater to your audience. You can pitch it to, it could be like it could be a media outlet. You could say I have an article about this. But when you have these things pre-prepared, people realize, okay, this person's not just kind of poking around, seeing if they can land something. They already have this really good content. So you need to have these topics ready, and I'm going to show you how to develop these momentarily. But these are some examples. 5 ways to increase your mindfulness, how to embrace and celebrate change, top 10 Instagram marketing mistakes to avoid. Whatever makes sense for your audience, that's what I want you to think about right now. If your audience was walking by a newspaper stand and they saw the title of your talk on a magazine, what would make them want to stop and pick it up, right? That should be the title of your next article or your speaking topic, whatever makes sense for you. If you're still stuck, look at conferences or organizations they might attend and see what topics keep on coming up there, right? If there's like the Work From Home Association of America, you can see what topics the speakers were talking about there. So you can reverse engineer success. But you absolutely need to have this ready because that's how you build your personal brand. They're not going to reach out to you if they're like, they don't know what you talk about. But if you keep on talking about the new normal or post-COVID or work from home or remote parenting, whatever it is, like, oh, that's the person we should talk to. It's Lauren, right? Because we know this is what she talks about. So on mine, especially when I was earlier starting off, I would actually pitch these to organizations, right? So I would say, hey, can I present this to the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce? Can I stop by your meetup and talk about this? Then I moved on to colleges and universities, then podcasts and conferences, so on and so forth. I'll even reach out to apps and tools that my audience uses and pitch them to present. So for me, the tool that I use to process proposals and invoices is called Honeybook. And what I did is I reached out to them. I said, "Okay, can I do a presentation for your audience? Because I know my audience uses it too." And they're like, "Yeah, sure." They were more enthusiastic than that, but you get what I'm saying. Does this make sense? Because this is the part where you're like, man, that sounds kind of hard. Yeah, it is going to be hard. But actually, it's going to be challenging, but it's not going to be confusing. So for all of you who are like, oh man, screw that. those of you that go ahead and do this, you're the ones that are going to grow your brand. So it is a bit overwhelming. That's cool. You should feel a little bit concerned because it's something different, right? This is that we call that growth mindset. And think about it this way. Like if you made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day, you might not love it, but you're comfortable with it, right? There's no anxiety around it, right? You're like, okay, well, another day, another peanut butter jelly sandwich. But if you're like, you know what? I want to make a BLT tomorrow. I've never done it, but I'm going to follow these instructions that this guy gave me, and I'm going to make this BLT. You're going to feel nervous. Good. Consider that as a trigger of you separating yourself from the old you and the new you that you're growing into. You should feel nervous doing some of this stuff. You should feel uncomfortable. But what I'm saying is all this stuff, that we're talking about right now, it's been done before. So you're following steps and you're making them your own. But I'm not like making this stuff up along the way, right? I'm not like, oh, let's see what happens. These are things I've done, that I've taught, and that I've observed that work. So you're not reinventing anything here. You're repurposing it and making it your own, right? So this works, right? That's all I'm telling you. This works. And if you have questions about it, you know where to find me. What else? So here's an example of what you can say when you're pitching these topics. Hey, I'm wondering if you want to talk about this. If you ever want to bring in speakers to talk about this, here's who I am. Here's what I talk about. And would you like to discuss this? You can get a copy of the deck and take a look at this later. But when you have this stuff that's so buttoned up, hey, based on your audience, I think this would be good. That's how you get these speaking opportunities. And yeah, it starts with a podcast with like 20 listeners. Then all of a sudden it's a webinar with like 300 people following it. Then all of a sudden like Money Magazine reaches out to you and says, hey, can you talk about this for an article that we're doing? All right. If that part scared you, I'm going to challenge you even more. Because if you do this next thing, I promise you, you're going to grow your brand and your revenue. All right. This is things I've done before too, by the way. Here we go. I want you to compile relevant industry research and then spread that out as an ebook, as a PDF, as a speaking topic, but you're curating information from your target audience and sharing it back with them. Okay. So let's pretend, again, I'm this digital marketing consultant. I could research and select 50 people who are industry experts in digital marketing and say, hey, what are your thoughts on how to, grow an e-commerce brand in the new normal? I'm doing this survey. I would love to get your thoughts on it. Right. And you can do this via LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever makes sense. Compile all these results, okay, and then package them as an ebook, as a speaking topic, all that stuff, and then post it on social media. I interviewed over 50 experts, and here are the 5 things they said you should be, very clear on if you want to market an e-commerce business in the new normal. Then it's like you've just elevated your brand because you're now seen as this thought opinion leader because you have all these connections you've made, right? And I'll give you a really good example. My buddy Alan Howard owns an SEO agency down in Colombia, and he caters to SaaS organizations, software as a service. So him and his team surveyed 200 SaaS companies and said, what is your biggest concern about marketing a SaaS company in the new normal? Got about 50 responses. They made this ebook and said, okay, well, here you go. Here's the answers. we got them for you. And now he shares it on social. He also pitches it to other organizations such as the SaaS Association of America, which is actually a thing. I didn't know that, right? But now he's elevated his brand by having this information. And all he did was take the time to curate it. So yes, you should feel uncomfortable doing this. I did this myself. I reached out to 200 consultants on LinkedIn and I said, I'm building this new coaching program. I'd love for you to fill out this survey about the challenges you have in your building your consulting business and what a solution might look like. I reached out to 200 people and I got 42 responses. That's how I built my coaching program. That's also how I built some of the content I have, because I learned so much from these people. I learned there's a lot of new consultants who unfortunately got laid off. And not only are they trying to start their consulting business, they're going through an identity crisis. Because for years, they were this engineer at Airbnb and they just got laid off. So hell, now I know I can talk to them more empathetically because of the research that I've done. How did I do that? I went on LinkedIn, I searched for consultants, and I searched for self-employed. And then I saved a text shortcut into my phone saying, hey, I see you're a consultant. I'm wondering if I can ask you a few questions about your daily life and the associated challenges. Would you like to connect? Something like that. That was saved as a text shortcut. I just push a button, automatically comes up. I did this while I was watching Netflix. It took me 6 hours. I reached out to 200 people and I got 42 responses. You can all do this too. And what I'm saying is it could be one of the fastest ways to grow your brand and your revenue, right? Is it hard? It's hard to get over the hump of you feeling, uncomfortable. But once you get into it, you're like, hey, I'm just pushing buttons and I'm watching Netflix. So do that. All right, let's keep going here. Lead generation. What are we doing with all this attention, right? What are we doing with all this attention? Someone called me Terry Price. It's actually Terry Rice, but thank you. That would be interesting. Lead generation, right? Create a lead magnet. Yes or no? Have you heard of a lead magnet in the chat window? Have you heard of a lead magnet? Yes, no, yes, no. Okay, well, a lead magnet is when you give away information in exchange for your audience's contact information. It could be an ebook, a cheat sheet, a template. It can be a mini book, okay? A mini course. And a mini course is something, it's going to be an on-demand course. It takes less than 2 hours to complete, but it allows you to show your area of expertise and deliver value to your audience in exchange for their email address, right? So let's pretend you have a personal finance software company. You could have this free course on how to reduce your monthly expenses and then offer some kind of software to help them save even more money, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like when you hear, oh, create a free mini course, you're gonna, oh man, that sounds like a pain in the ass. Not really. It took me 12 hours to complete mine. That's including writing the scripts, the outline, recording it, all the descriptions, all the exercises, right? And I actually wrote an article for Entrepreneur Magazine about it last week. So if you want to get a copy of that, let me know. I'll put my Instagram in again. I'll put my LinkedIn later. But literally it took me 12 hours to complete this. And here's what it looks like if you want to check it out. It's for my audience. It's called Attract and Convert, How to Get More Coaching and Consulting Clients. So with your course, just deliver one big win, how to learn how to knit this kind of pattern, how to launch a dropshipping business, how to use Instagram stories, whatever it is, right? That's what you're going to do. And again, as a result of this, you have so much more value to deliver to people, right? So when you're prospecting, you can say, hey, Taylor, look, I know you're coming out of the blue here, but I see you're a consultant and I want to share with you this course I made about how you can attract more coaching clients. Can I share it with you? So what's Taylor going to do? He's either going to ignore me or say, yeah, dude, whatever, send it my way, right? But I'm not just saying, hey, Taylor, I'd like to talk to you more about your business and how I might be able to help. It's like, no, man, here's some value. If you want to talk more, here you go, right? So this course that I made, it took me 12 hours, but it's actually brought in over 400 leads in the last 4 weeks, which is insane, right? So my return on time is amazing there. So questions about that, read the article or ask me. Real quick, then let's get into some questions here. This is more or less your personal marketing plan. One is think of a relevant theme to present, right? How do you market your e-commerce company in the new normal? Then do some industry research, make it scary, do some first party research, do some third party research. But again, like, don't just say like, here are my thoughts, because you won't get picked up by a major news outlet or periodical because of your thoughts. But if you reach out to Entrepreneur, Forbes, Money Magazine, whatever, and say, I surveyed 50 people and here's what they're saying. Okay, cool. Now it's not just Terry's thoughts, it's curated information, right? Create a topic and a lead magnet based on those findings, write about it on social and your website, and then pitch to organizations, but then always offer a lead magnet when presenting. Hey, everybody, if you want to get more information about this, go to my website. You can do that on podcast, you can do that on webinars, whatever it is, but always offer some kind of lead magnet when presenting. And after that, you get paid for who you are, not just what you do, right? So no matter what you're selling, you're actually get rewarded for you as a person, not just because you make, home bakery goods and stuff like that, right? But also play the long game, because, if you focus on building relationships, you're also going to build your brand and your revenue at the same time. So don't have this scarcity mindset or this lack mindset where you're like, oh, I need to hurry up, make some money right now by next week. It's like, no, man, like, play the long game. Like, you're building a brand and a business that's going to reward you for years to come. So don't necessarily ruin that by being so short-sighted. Cool. All right. So I'm going to answer some questions right now, but if you want to keep in touch, there's my there's my website. If you want to follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn, you can actually just use your phone and scan it right now to do that. So I'll leave that up so we can do it. But I want to answer some questions. First one, are you an Aries? I am not. I'm a Virgo. So hopefully that didn't throw anything off that you're thinking about me. What's the best platform for creating online courses? I use Teachable. That's the one that I've used historically. So Teachable is my opinion. But I mean, try it out, because different platforms have their different use cases. That's the one I use, though. It's super easy. What else? So for your personal brand, can you share some valuable proposition ideas and examples? Yeah, I could say, like, actually one of my buddies is a fundraising, no, he's a persuasive communication coach, and he works with nonprofits and fundraising, like lobbyists, to help them be more persuasive. So he says, I help you win bigger donations and build deeper relationships by increasing your ability to communicate the value of your offering. It's something like that. It's like, it's the same thing. It's like, for this audience, I help you get this outcome. And I'll go back to one of mine. I say, I help consultants and coaches build their brand and revenue without sacrificing time from their health, their family, or their outside personal interests. So that's another one that helps you. What else? What's the best way of getting visitors to your website that actually become customers? Yeah, that lead magnet. Really, just that lead magnet. Oh, here's the best thing about lead magnet, right? Once you have it, you can align with third parties who will distribute it on your behalf. So going back to that program Honeybook, they're sharing my free course in their like gift guide or whatever that they're sending out to thousands of people on their email list. And I also did this talk for this company called Freelance Business Week a couple weeks ago, and they included my free course in the email that went out to everyone after the talk. So align with third parties that have access to your audience. You're better off reaching out to 50 third parties, whether it be some kind of app you use or an organization, and saying, can we partner, as opposed to 50 individuals? Because one yes from one of those third parties that has access to thousands of people is much more valuable than one yes often from an individual. I'll say it one more time. Focus on building partnerships with organizations who have access to your audience already. And then from there, present, do a good job, and then say, hey, if you want to stay in touch, here you go. Right. What are the pros and cons of a brand that uses the person's full name versus using a different brand name? So yeah, I've gone through this, Rebecca. Originally, I was a digital marketing consultant mostly, and I called my company like Brooklyn Digital Marketing because I wanted something like kind of like anonymous to an extent. The benefit of that was my personal brand wasn't important. It didn't matter if I was one person working there or 20. The downside was I didn't get as many speaking engagements or opportunities to talk with the press because they didn't know who the face of the business was. But to your point, if you do want to eventually have a larger company, it might be better to have a more generic name, because that way people they'll feel like more like they're part of the team as opposed to like they're all just like making you rich to an extent. But then I would still build my personal brand outside of that. So if you're a solopreneur, I would strongly recommend just going by your name. Cool. Glad to hear that helped. How valuable is a Facebook Live and other live events for growing brands? I think it's valuable because with a Facebook Live or Instagram Live, you can explain a lot of things. Like, here's how you use our product, or here's behind the scenes, what we're doing with it. But it's how you promote it that's really important. You can't just say like, surprise, I'm going live. Like, you want to promote that weeks or even, at least days in advance. Otherwise, you'll get no value out of it if no one's there. But it's a good way for people to ask you questions about your product or service too. So I would say go for it. I'm struggling with my B2B offer on LinkedIn for CXOs. My business has been word of mouth. What's one thing you advise I do or not do with my offer? If your business has largely been word of mouth, I would go deeper on that. So Beth, what I would say is, everyone, if you're struggling to get clients, or in this case, like business partners, you should do what's called a reintroduction letter to your network and say, hey, everybody, just so you know, here's what I'm doing right now. This is the audience that I help. If you know anyone that could use my services, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. I would double down on that, Beth, before I even worry about what to post on LinkedIn, because it sounds like you're doing really well just through word of mouth. I would be more intentional about that, perhaps. And then outside of that, I mean, you can follow the best practice that we already talked about. But it sounds like you could be fine just by reminding people that, what you do and how you do it. What else? Oh, cool. Kimberly did that and it worked. Sweet. Thanks, Kimberly. What's the best way to get more people viewing your stories? You can follow more people. Oh, you know what? You can just use the right hashtags too. One thing I did before, this was a lot of fun, is I would call out like celebrities in my Instagram stories, like not like huge celebrities, but someone who's like slightly popular. I would tag them and say, look at this brilliant thing they said. And then they would see that I tagged them, and then they would share my story with their audience. So I'll say this again. I would tag someone who's like well known enough in one of my stories, like, hey, look what they recently did. Then if they saw it, often they'll share it back with their audience. So someone else is doing this too. And that's how you get access to their audience. So by design, you're reaching out to the right people with the goal of them sharing it as a story. So that's one way to do it. And you can also like grow your brand in general by following and engaging with other people, like just commenting a lot. I'm writing a book that I want to publish next year. What benefit would I get from using LinkedIn? You can seed your audience. I mean, keep talking about the theme of the book on LinkedIn. And you can even ask questions like, hey, I'm almost done with this book. So what questions would you have for that you want to get answered in this? Judy or Jody, even at the beginning, what I've seen people do is like, hey, I'm writing a new book. I'm wondering what title sounds best, this one or this one? Or, hey, I'm almost done with the book cover. Which one do you vote for, A or B? People love doing that. They're like, because anyone can have an opinion on that, whether they want to buy the book or not, right? So you'll get a ton of engagement for that. And the more engagement you get, the more reach you get on LinkedIn, right? Then later you're going to say, hey, everyone, I'm taking pre-orders for it. If you want to get this book, click here, buy now. So that's what I would do. There are so many questions here. I'm going to put actually, let me stop sharing this for a minute. I'm going to put my LinkedIn up. If you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, that's another way to follow up, but there's like no way I'm going to get through all these questions. So thank you for that. But I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and actually I have a meeting after this one. So let me answer this one. Is a Facebook group a useful marketing tool? It is, but you don't have to be the one who made the group. So let me tell you a story just to kind of wrap things up. My wife and I, when we were looking for a school for our daughter last year, we were doing research on like the best school to go to in the area. So what we did was we went in this group, Park Slope Parents here in Brooklyn, and there's this woman who kept on giving me really good tips on like, here's the deadline for when to go to school. Here's how to help kids adjust to going to kindergarten, so on and so forth. And it turns out she was like a school placement consultant. And that's how we found her. And eventually we gave her like $300 to tell us, oh, go to that school. Right. But she just gave us so much valuable information that we trusted her to inform us on the best option for our daughter to go to the school. So don't reinvent the wheel creating your own group. Maybe just go provide value in a different one. And then from there, you can still attract people like she did with us and get some paying clients or customers. Right. So hopefully that's beneficial. I do have to run. This has been so much fun though. I just want to say thank you to everybody who was able to attend. I'm going to put my LinkedIn here one more time. Hopefully you got an idea of where to follow me or find me or whatever. But this has been great. And I just appreciate all the questions and the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Terry. And again, we'll be following up with the recording, any ways that you can stay in touch with Terry. But again, I can't say thank you enough to him, and follow him on LinkedIn, Instagram, all the places. He's a person you definitely want to follow. Thank you all so much for sticking with us this last hour and a half, and we will hopefully see you at the next GA event. Thank you again to Squarespace. See you guys soon.
Thanks.